Yeah, there is, but fear is really the key of it, right?
Yeah.
Because of the bad parenting made you fearful about everything in reality, right? What did T.S. Eliot say? People can't take too much reality. But the thing is that there's an envy quotient involved as well. One thing about an alpha type is that they're surrounded by envy. That's just basic, right? And there's no beating around the bush of this. So feminine men and beta men and all the rest of it envy the alpha man, and you could have an endless conversation about that. Well, he's a creator in the Nietzschean sense, whatever, right? But the fact is that man is envied. Until he knows that he's envied, he understands the dynamic of why don't people like me? Why can't I pull a chick? Until he understands what is going on, the dynamic in the using the phraseology we try to use, he is the victim, not them. There's the movie Egyptian. It's actually based on an ancient Egyptian actual true legend, by the way, but it was made into a movie with Victor Mature. See if you can watch that movie with educated eyes. It's all fucking there. Because the pharaoh, he's just some dentist or something, right? He's like some dentist. And he doesn't realize he's actually the son of the pharaoh. He doesn't realize until the end of the film. And then he suddenly comes into himself. And so most men walking around right now are not masculine. Right? They've got an image of what masculinity is, and that image is usually through the eyes of a woman or their mother. Because the mother conspired to show the father that useless thing, the house slave. Girls and boys were brought up to see him through her eyes. And if she had failed the dragon fight with her mother, then the masculine doesn't look good in her eyes. And that's what my books hope to analyze, to give people the lineaments and the contours of understanding how this subversion of the masculine archetype takes place. But let's get back to what we were saying. Given that most men walking around are not in fact masculine, right? They've been boiled in a female world. The ethos, right? The petri dish is feminized. So even though they may stand there in some deluded state thinking, well, I kick the ball about, sure, I have punch-ups on Saturday night at the pub, I'm very masculine. It's all a lot of nonsense, right? And so the reset will come when the vision is cleared, right? What do you say? The scales are taken away from one's eyes and you start to recalibrate, and that means deep inward lookingness. And it also means vitally sticking close to the thought of those who are the true masculine types. And here I'm even referring to women like Ayn Rand and others. You've got to read them, right? Your Miguel Cervantes and all these, the William Blakes and all. You've got to stick very, very close because then it'll awaken it. This is something that percolates. This is not something that goes like, a commercial in which you just wave a wand and suddenly I'm a man again or a masculine. Oh my God, the damage that's been done to that great republic is so vast that it has to be called from within in a shamanic way. And each and every person has its own way of doing that. For some, it will mean leaving the city environment and spending time alone. For others, it will mean this and this is, or critiquing or just being okay with your masculinity. And here's the other thing about this. Masculinity is deeply critical, right? So your cancel culture can go fuck. In fact, they're malignantly critical. The man has to be able to stand up and say, no, I'm right to discriminate. I'm right to be critical. I'm okay with that, and not let the feminized types around you knock you for six, either online or in your personal life. There's a lot of things come with this. This concept of heroism. We've talked about it endlessly on this show after show after show, and that's even still introductory. So people like yourself and others listening, this is the job. Discover that what you think is masculinity isn't, and then even if you found it in an alpha type, it's envied by everybody. And what is the solution to that? I'm not talking about everybody. I don't care about them. I care about the alpha man discovering that fact, discovering that when he walks through, the world, he's envied, and he's got to be okay with that. He's got to understand it, realize that Judas kiss, realize that fucking worm tonguing all around him, and through it all, just like Howard Rourke, he sticks with it, right? And he works with that in a very, very sort of a holistic way, and then he changes and becomes a model. When they see that there's not a flicker, none of their envy or none of their shit can waver that person, then he's not swayed. So it's like in the Egyptian movie, he becomes fully aware of who he is, and he becomes the ruler. So there's a journey in all alpha types for them to almost discover their real true reflection in the mirror. And I was going to say that the full definition for me of the masculine alpha is that he doesn't allow anyone else to fall lower in their life. Now, he doesn't go out like some idiot into the lives of people, but should he come upon a person just by his model, just by their proximity, they rise to their higher being. So a woman will become masculinized in the presence of an alpha man because he won't allow himself to be friends with anyone who's not moving in that trajectory, as you just said. So he does become the ruler. And no little sort of lost sheepish male can be that way for 2 seconds in the presence of an alpha man. And so we need more of those figures in life. And the culture doesn't want them because they are the rulers. They are the leaders. And that's why our culture is a cancel culture. Remember we talked about the white blood cells being so heroic and fighting off disease. But the white blood cell also needs the disease in order to have an identity. So it works reciprocally. A white blood cell's very raison d'etre is disease. So the Fenian guards, they become what they are, not in a passive or they become kinetic. They become active when there is an enemy turns up on the horizon. What's that? So their vigilance pays off. But their own character and their own definition. So in a strange metaphysical way, and you mentioned this earlier about the dynamics of it, somehow masculinity can't even be what we're hoping it will be without the enemy. Right? And then we still don't have the full formula mix yet. The chemical that needs still to be added to that test tube is this. Judge your greatness by the power of your enemy. And there's the complete package. If something's coming crashing down the street and heading your way, it's because you yourself have the power. And it's after that fucking power. So we talked about envy as being absolutely critical to this. But it's also this desire in a vampiristic way, as you read from Ayn Rand, that they want to somehow appropriate that power into themselves in the false masculine, in the parody of the alpha. And one of the jobs of the real alpha is to not let that happen. That's mine, mate. Hands fucking off, right? In other words, fall in love with the word no. The whole of our Western culture is now getting that lesson placed back on the table, you know? And it's good. See, look at it. Let's, because I know you can't stay with us very much longer. And I wanted to ask you where my last question is where you're heading with your own work. But let's just add this final comment and get your feedback. No masculine person listening to us right now, male or female, is ever in fear about anything. Ever. Right? They've conquered it. They're in no doubt about it. They go, there's a fight on, I'm first in line. Right? That's the masculine aspect. They don't tremble in fear. They don't hide underneath the fucking staircase. They don't worry about, the ignorance of other people. That's insignificant. I'm Neo. I'm the one. What did Bruce Lee said? I'm not locked in with my enemies. You motherfuckers are locked in with me.
That's it. Yep.
Need to say more?